All right, we'll go ahead and call to order the Parks and Recreation Committee meeting for Monday, March 21st. Want to take a roll call?
Sarah Burkhart.
Here.
Jennifer Botley.
Here.
Jed Henry.
Here.
And Trustee Hartman.
All right, so we'll go ahead and open it up next to public comment. If anybody is on Zoom or willing to or wishing to speak, if you get any communication or anything based on today's agenda, Mike?
None.
Okay. Well, seeing no one out there in virtual land, we'll go ahead and move into the report section. Committee chairperson has nothing to report tonight.
We report the normal May signs.
Oh, well, I thought it was back to you, buddy. I got my no May sign up, and I'm really excited to see how many of my neighbors are participating in this this test run, this pilot run. So, looking forward to it. Any other? What's that? Yeah. Any other committee members have any reports you want to share tonight?
Just that I saw the ice cream come up and since we last met.
Yep, that we did. Days like today really affected that.
Yeah.
Mike, I have a question. Are we doing an Easter egg hunt this year?
Just received a special event permit today from Chris Gavin. So the scouts have always done the Easter egg hunt here. And they, obviously with COVID kind of took off, and he reached out to me over the weekend. And so I told him I needed a special event permit completed, and then that'll go on the village board for the 28th. But I believe, the 16th, I think was a date on it that they're planning to do it. So cool.
Okay, great.
Is that Easter? Seemed really late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I had one thing quick.
Yeah, go for it.
My husband actually brought up again, wondering if there would be an opportunity for like a bike safety thing run through rec. Because again, we were riding our bikes and just kind of reminded of, like, there's not a lot of sidewalks in this village, and so I don't know. I grew up always having a bike rodeo, and we right up this department was involved.
Yeah.
Kind of a great way. I don't know. Encourage safety.
Yeah, I think so. We always used to run one here as well. We did it at Park School for the longest time, and then it got switched over and we started doing the night of family fun and safety, which then became National Night Out at the fire station. And I think they just kept losing participation or weren't given that, so they kind of went away with that part of it. But Scott Kretz always ran it, Officer Kretz, so we can bring it up to him again. It's something. Thing that's bad about doing it in August is it's so late already in the summer and kids have all been riding their bikes. But I think we could talk about even doing something during trout days or something like that.
Yeah,
Maybe a good little event down there. All right.
That takes it to our Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, so my report. So just want to kind of give you guys some things. Park and playground inspection started, obviously, with weather like we're having today. It's been a very warm winter in general. We had a lot of use still, especially at Glacier Valley Playground. The gravity rail is already to the point that we needed a complete new package for the wheel itself.
I noticed that.
However, we just got it on Friday, and they gave it to us at no cost, so still not, more or less under warranty. But I've kind of put that on my budget form now. I don't know if you remember when we were receiving the project, so receiving the gravity rail, I had to sign a form at that point stating that we wanted this item and that we weren't going to more or less, or that we would do all the maintenance that was needed for this item and all those sorts of things. So we kind of, I wouldn't say we were duped into it. However, they told us pretty late in the process about the maintenance aspect of it. So Dane checks it right now. Our plan is to check it every Monday. So it's checked. I mean, after the weekend, we're usually going to get the most use. However, this week we're almost checking it daily just because there's so many kids around. The park was packed, completely packed today, pretty much all day. And even when I went to grab my car, there were still probably 100 kids there. So I'm guessing, word's gotten out even more. People are, trying to get out and wanting to use it, but we'll do our best to keep up on it in regards to
What is it that actually has to get?
So there are rollers. Yeah, there are rubber rollers on the inside. And we actually were flipping those around at first because we're like, oh, that, we won't wear, they'll wear them out evenly. And what we found is the areas that are having the most abrasion on them, so like where they're hanging on the rail itself, they actually shrink down at a point where you wouldn't want them on the other side because it could potentially fall off with all the pressure on it. So we decided to kind of keep them where they are. But I did order a whole new maintenance package, so we have one on at all times, so we can switch them out if we need to. But we didn't receive the second one yet, and I haven't got any costs on what that's going to be quite yet. But I'll obviously be looking to add that into our park maintenance in the near future here.
I wonder if any of that has anything to do with adults riding it.
Well, and we've asked about this too. It's not the adults. It's not the adults. There is a weight limit on there. We have safety stickers on there and how you're supposed to ride, and only one person. I went by where 3 or 4 kids are on it together. So the stickers are on the post, and it's not like they're probably going to read them anyways, but they've peeled them off completely. And they've done that on all these other areas on that park too, because they're cut, so it's really easy to pull. And I think they just stand there. They're not even really thinking about it, and they're kind of pulling on them. But they pulled that one completely off. I've asked Roland to give us new stickers for the gravity rail, especially, and make it so that they're not cut. Because if they're cut through there, it makes it way too easy for them to pull them off. I have other parks that have been on there forever, 20 years, and none of the stickers come off. So I don't know why they're done that way. But we'll keep an eye on this. We started an adult pickleball drop-in program at Park School. First night we had 38 people that were there. We also had roughly 10 or so that came as a group all together. So we had 48 people that just turned around and left. So we're like, holy cow, this is amazing and crazy. So we looked for other space at Glacier and a few others. We looked at getting some time. And then since then we've had like 4, 10, 3 like this last week. So I don't know if it was just week 1, it's colder now, it's starting to warm up too, where people can play more outside, but we're going to do a little survey and just see if it's something that the community would like to see more of in the future, like next winter. So we can even start doing, Sunday night or some other time that would be open. So
I can see that next year.
What's that?
I can see that.
Yeah, kind of. Did you? Yeah. And then obviously after we get our new courts on outside, I'm sure may get some more use from the inside side. And then the activity guide, hopefully is in mailboxes this week. We sent it to him last week, Tuesday, for print. So he told us that he'd easily be able to get that out. More on USPS and how fast it gets into people's mailboxes. But it should have been sent there today.
I like the color book cover. That's nice.
Yeah, so this year we tried to do something a little bit different and make it a coloring book. We thought about it a little too late, but we're like, we should have made it a contest of some sort and gave away something, which we still could do. People could pick them up. I think in the future, we've been talking about this for a number of years, but in the future, we sent them out again this year. The estimate came in quite a bit higher this year than it has been in the past. Roughly, I think it was like $900 more this year for 100 less guides. We went to 100 less just because we had so many left over last year. People aren't picking them up as often at the library or here. So I think what we talked about next year is we're going to have a registration page where you can go on and say, yes, I want one mailed to me, and we'll have your addresses. But outside of that, it'll just be electronic. So if people want them still, in the mail, we can do it, but otherwise we're just going to try and go electronic. And we put that in the guide. People look at and we'll try and talk about it more often. But we've also heard like people love to get this in the mail. It's kind of like, summer's coming for one, it becomes kind of a Bible, and another what's happening throughout the village. But I think even having it online would be, we get a lot of clicks on our website based on the activity guide too. So, but we would still get some of them to have here, obviously, and at the library and at the pool. So people could grab them from there. But if you want to get it mailed to you, it would come directly, or you'd have to sign up for it beforehand. So, lastly, we have done all of our hiring for summer, mainly the pool. We're still looking at adding some rec staff if possible, because we are losing one of our senior staff members, Caitlin Nelson, who's been with us now for probably 10 years, is taking a job She obviously is our chamber director, but she also took a job with the insurance company in town. So we're looking for more teachers or people that are looking for some work in the summer as well. More obviously that worked with kids in the past, but all of our pool staff is hired, management's hired. Actually had 2 training days already, more or less just trying to get our newer staff up to speed on what's happening. And our whole goal in this year is to make new members. We did a nice little survey last year with our staff, and they felt like the new members always feel like every year it's a lot, right? For someone who's 14 or 15 or 16 to come in. So this year we're trying to do more of like, hey, let's meet the staff. Let's have more good camaraderie and just play fun games. We played some fun games in here one day. And then we did like a little teaser to figure out who everybody was and, you know, what their styles were for management and other things. So yeah, it's good. Any questions?
We decided on like the fall this year. It's gonna reach back to the pool houses
Yep.
and then like concessions.
So the plan as of right now is to go back to the old way of doing it. I have applied for a variance with the state. I have not heard from them yet. I applied for that at least a month ago or so now. So once I hear from them, giving us a variance to keep those doors open, we'll do it that way. If they don't give us a variance, we'll have to talk about it. We'll have to talk more about it. But everything that I've received so far from one of the ladies is that it should pass. So we'll be back to normal for that. I'll bring that back to you once I get it, because we'll also talk about concessions as well. If there's anything you'd like to see done differently or different snacks, or we talked about trying to go healthier options at one point as a committee. The problem that we ran into was costs, obviously, and how long things last. You know, using candy and ice cream, it's easy because you can refrigerate it and it has a lot of preservatives in it. So it pretty much lasts all summer if you don't sell it. But yeah, we could talk about that too.
Like, right now, you know, the last year we talked about.
Yes, that could be an option. We'll talk with our new administrator to see if that is something that we can go down. Bill was on board with it, I think, for the most part. We could talk to Bobby as well, our finance director, to make sure. But there's more paperwork for them, I think, especially Bobby, finance side of things. So, but yeah, we can get with the 21st century, I think.
Maybe not.
Any questions? Any questions?
I don't think so. Not from my end. Okay, let's go ahead and I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from December 20th, 2021. Is there a second out there?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All in support of approving the minutes from December 20th, 2021. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And same opposed.
I like it.
All right, we're good. Yeah, it's been a while. Good to see everybody. Had a lot of action at the village board, with new administrator and dealing with all that stuff. So we were in good hands in the absence of. I was juggling Parks and Rec, as well as interim village administrator, as well as whatever's going on with your home life. So we appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep.
This has been a lot. This time was, I was just saying before, this was way more than the last time. And I felt like the last time was a lot. So
Yeah. Well,
I'm
it's
excited.
excited. We got one
yeah.
right in spring,
Yep.
so that we can get
That'll be
started.
perfect.
Okay, cool. Let's go ahead
Tomorrow.
into agenda item 2, which is discussion possible action regarding the request for proposal for the playground at Bear Park. I'm sure Mike has an overview for us.
Yeah, so the big thing here was to just get this out to you for you to look through a little bit. Hopefully you're able to before the meeting. The village board has already approved all the capital money purchases for this year. So as long as it comes in under the threshold, which this one I believe is 37,000 roughly, then there shouldn't be any issues with it. I have been in contact with a number of these vendors just to more or less see their lead time. And right now, depending on the vendor, it was anywhere from 4 to 20 weeks. So, you know, I'll send this out to all of them, but I feel like part of that, you know, when we get it and when it can be installed, those things is really should be one of the major factors within this. My plan is to send this out to all of our vendors. So we have roughly 16 of them that we can send them to. A lot of them are duplicated. So, but we'll get them out because some of them may be able to give us better pricing than others. So plan is to send it out to as many people as possible. all obviously commercial vendors. As you can see within this document, if you're able to go through it, we have scope of services. So more or less what people were looking for is what I went off of completely. The playground should be designed for ages 2 to 5 and also 5 to 12. They were asking for earth tone colors. Swings, they wanted 1 swing belt, 1 bucket, and also 1 ADA inclusive swing. I put in there challenging climbing options or obstacle course like. They're, depending on the vendor, they'll be able to decide on what that will really look like or how much of that we'll actually get. Those types of items tend to be a little bit more expensive, so I don't know if that'll fit within our scope, but we'll see once they're able to come together with that. I also looked at spinning apparatus as a ground feature, rocker ground feature for multiple users, and then obviously the other things are wood chip surfacing, and also border material. So we'll need all those to be included within that. And then I just added in there other potential items being benches and possibly shade structures over those. I'm guessing that those shade structures and things will come in a little too high for us, but it may be something that we can incorporate later in this process. Excuse me. I talked about the playground itself needs to meet all CPSC and ASTM safety guidelines, along with ADA regulations for playground equipment. We will be excavating, we'll be asking the proposals as they come in to go and check the site out and let us know exactly what needs to be done for that site for the playground equipment to be installed. Last time for Glacial Valley, we took everything out. Obviously for this site, we probably end up doing the same within the turf side of things, but without anything else being there. It should be pretty cut and dry on what's needed, but we just want them to come look at it to make sure that we did everything correctly. And then the last thing is that the proposal should not exceed $37,000, as that's all the money that we have. So they may laugh at us a little bit on all the features that we asked for within this, but that's okay. As long as we have all the features in this, I think it's up to them to put together the best looking and or most inclusive playground, possible is kind of the plan. The site, we have the site location so they can look at that. Obviously the path isn't necessarily it's obviously not concrete, which it looks like in this picture, but you can come out and look at that site. And then this will be the notice for the proposals and also the document itself, so that everybody puts in the same amount of footage that we're going to need for fall zones, along with the bid unit cost total at the end. I also requested that once they put these proposals together, they give us a nice picture for what it would look like. So each of them will be submitting those with this form. Any questions, or if you look through it, any?
So Taylor was kind of curious.
Yeah.
Not part of the RFP process, but will there be signage?
Yes.
Are you going to?
Yep. So there will be signage. I didn't make it part of the 37,000 because I felt like we needed all of it. However, the village board did approve our signage regulations and changes. So this will be one that will have our first new signs within it. So that'll be nice. Yeah, with a nice logo on it and things. We'll get those later. The bigger question, and this is my next thing to take, I'll probably bring to you and then to them, is on here, I always had Bear Park expansion or Bear Park East or Bear Park, right? As our talking point. That's what was in our activity guide. It's in all these places. Now, Sarah brought up a good point earlier that this site was changed within our official map to not necessarily be all park, but it was public facilities, I believe, public facility space. So my question is going to be to you of what you feel that this park should be named or this playground should be named, or, where we kind of go, because I really threw a wrench in it for me with that change. But I wanted to get the playground in and then decide how have you and or the board decide where we go with that. Is it Glacier Ridge? I do not want that name because I have Glacier's Edge, I have Glacial Valley.
Yeah.
I have, there's too much of the same name. So we'd have to come up with some other name. And, it used to be the Beekner Farm. So we could go that route. However, normally naming rights don't come without any funding.
Yeah, and I feel like then you get into You get into, who have like first people and.
Right,
You know,
right.
challenging.
Very true,
plan.
True.
So, yeah,
very true.
so that's where,
So the playground will at least be put in first, because I didn't want it to be some long drawn out thing too, that now we have more, 2 or 3 meetings on. I wanted to
Right,
get the
you gotta figure
playground
out the
over.
name before you get to the park.
Exactly. So we'll get the playground in and then we can come back with the signage. It's a completely different company as well.
there'll be
So.
some color and then there'll be the blue part.
Exactly, exactly.
It is. Try that when you wanna go.
Did you have something, Jed?
Do we, can the residents help with construction or preparation or any of that stuff to increase the value of what we can get?
So I don't, as you can see, I do not have that in as a playground install or for install. I'm asking them to give us that price. If these prices come back where we're like, okay, this isn't working out, that could be a route we go. I just felt like with the way Glacial Valley was done and the way that more or less COVID was an issue with Glacial Valley, but even with the people supplying their crews, they don't like to do neighborhood installs anymore. It's like the one, it takes them a lot longer. 2, they don't have the expertise for people working all around, and they still have to have their crew there. So they've been kind of dropping the prices on the install aspect of it, providing their crew is within their company. With Bolin actually subcontracts that, so they're not within their own company. So we'll see. We'll see how those quotes come in and then talk about that.
Okay.
The other thing is with volunteers right now, it's, you always hope you have a lot of volunteers, but I didn't want it to fall on village staff, I guess is what that came down to, because that's what happened last time. And that took every guy possible a whole month. And that's all we did. We got a lot of other things happening within public facilities right now. So that wasn't really an option for me.
Okay.
Good question. Normally I would have said yes. And then Glacial Valley happened and I would be like, never again.
What is the likelihood that that proposal is gonna come back higher than $37,000?
It won't, just because I asked them not to exceed that. Now, what equipment we get,
Right.
that may be where the change is, right? We haven't, you've seen some bid documents that came in
With an extra ordinarily high,
pretty high. Yeah, I do know that Verona just
30%.
asked to do one. They had theirs out in like February, and I think their max was 30,000. I have not seen the picture of it, but I know that they're going forward with it. So they must have gotten something, still. I think it comes out to more of the features, all the features that we decided.
Mike, is there room to
Go ahead,
expand
Jim.
that park
What's
if
that?
there's money in the future and or future development in that area?
What's that again? I'm sorry.
Is there
Oh,
room?
expand.
Is there room to expand that park if there's more funding in the future and or future development in that area?
Yeah, I'd say absolutely to that. Obviously, the land is the biggest thing you need, and I guess changing that over from public facility to parkland, the area that would be needed would be the only talking point. But I don't think the board is against that idea. They just didn't want to earmark things specifically, right away. So yeah, I would say yes to that.
Well, because there's, what was it, like an acre? What was donated or what was earmarked as park? And that they just changed the designation from park to whatever it was, right? That's the only thing that happened there.
Yeah, and the official map was just changed from park to public facility. And what was supposed to be actually donated from Veridian at the time was 0.43 acres. So 43 homes came out to 0.43 acres.
And so how much of that have we used? Did we encompass that in the park? I know we're not getting a whole playground
No.
full of that land, or is all of it being encompassed, or we only used what we needed for the playground equipment?
I would say no, the playground equipment won't take up 0.43 acres. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah,
Right,
that's
yeah.
what.
So
do we have room, or are we gonna have to go back to the board since they changed the name of this? And, if we get more park money or expand that, are we gonna have to go back and try to claw that land back?
No, I don't believe so. I would say no to that. I feel that, there's a trail that goes through it currently, right? So in my opinion, it's still classified a park. It's still open space. It's open for you to use. They just, for some reason, didn't want it to be park. They called it a public facility. And, I
Yeah.
didn't understand it either, but
That meeting,
yeah.
Well, if you were there, Jed, you probably, the gist of it was so that the public facilities potentially would then encompass the designation of park as well. That was the argument that was being made, because if you call public facilities, you can still put a park there, you can put a fire station there, and you can do basically anything the village wants to do with it. But I would agree that the nature of doing it was to give the village board options without having to be held accountable for previous decisions on the designation of certain land. That's
Yeah.
as diplomatic as I can get.
That's very well. So I personally don't see, if the money was there, I think the money was going to be the biggest obstacle, just like it is now, right? So if the money is there, there's more development and or land or funding from some other area that can go towards park or towards playground. I don't see the board saying no to that. It's more about the plan itself and what that plan looks like, so that, let's just say, for instance, a police department doesn't go directly right next to that park, so it can't expand, right? That's not what we would want. So
yeah. Well, but they already moved all the things that they were considering out of that area. So we got to assume that they're going to sell that land and develop it into something.
I don't like to assume, and I've been a very strong advocate that doesn't happen, at least from a staffing level. But yeah, the village board can decide on whatever they'd like to do. I'm sure they're going to have 43 homes or people that are within those homes at that meeting if that were to happen, and probably the school and everything else. So yeah, I agree with you though.
And potentially, go ahead, Jed.
Yeah, they just spent a lot of money on that to just not do something productive with it. So, but I digress. Do we have anything to vote on for this, or is this more just an information?
Yeah, you can vote on it if you'd like. I'd rather you vote on it than me just saying like, yep, let's go forward with this.
Any motions out there?
So the motion would just approve the RFP.
Yep, you got to approve the RFP for the Bear Park. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, for the Bear Park.
expansion.
Why don't we do for a ground at 3000 Evergreen Parkway? That'd be the address for that entire site.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the RFP for 3000 Evergreen Parkway.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in support of approving the RFP, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And opposed, same. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move into item 3, discussion of possible action regarding the request for proposals for repaving of pickleball courts and basketball court at Bear Park.
All right, more or less the same thing. This one is going to be a little bit different, though, just for the simple fact that we've been able to do quite a bit of the groundwork already. We took all the blacktop out. The fencing is out already on the site. I don't know if you've been up there. So our plan is to get this base at least the best that we can. Within the scope, however, the pickleball courts are expanded. They're a little bit more. So 4 courts going in there. We roughly needed 64 feet. And then the width or the length of those courts are already in place. So 120 feet turned out to be perfect. Within this 64 feet, though, we are taking a roughly 4 to 6 feet of the current basketball court. So what I've done is expanded that to the west, to the east, roughly 4 feet on that site, trying to expand that as best we can. Excuse me. Sorry. Plan is, for this, I'm gonna end up generaling it most likely myself, mainly to save money, and also we're not gonna be able to find one general to do all three things that we need, which is blacktopping, painting, and fencing. So the plan for me is going to be, and concrete, I should say, as well. So my plan is to meet with the pavers at first, get an understanding of what they're able to provide for service, and obviously cost. Once I have paving in mind, then I'll find concrete, make sure that I have all the specs and everything already drawn out of there. The plan is for them to come in and just do the things that are needed, along with talk with the fencing company so that they can all work simultaneously to, once the concrete's in and cured, we can put the sleeves, or the sleeves will be in that. I will also then put the fence posts in, and then do the paving part of that after. Once the paving's cured, which is in roughly 24 hours, a painter can come in and do the painting. Now, the painting aspect of it's a little bit tougher. There's not a lot of court resurfacing or court painters out there. I have looked at it. I've actually been looking at it, watching some things on YouTube, and I was like, this is easy. Like, I feel like this is something we could do. So I have sent out for the spec already on the paint on if we can get it all ourselves and do this ourselves. We're going to try and do that. So, so that's why I have everything kind of colored up in here to see it like different, how it's different. So the fencing and all that's in blue. The red is obviously the paint itself, and then the black is the main paving on top. So
the three color things would be more what the village would be taking on.
most likely, I'll be sending those. Well, not the fencing or the concrete. It's just more or less I'm going to send this out as different proposals. So it's actually just going to be blacktop or paving is going to be one proposal. Concrete is going to be another proposal, and galvanized fencing will be another one. So. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I just didn't separate all those things out for you.
All good. What questions are out there in the world?
Yeah, we'll find out. I mean, we'll see. I've never done an entire court like that, but we did pretty much all of Glacial Valley basketball court. We took those courts out. We did most of that. So the plan is obviously to stay within the 110,000. So that's going to be the hardest part. I'm going to have to get all these quotes right away and then have them signed as well within the 30-day period, because right now with a lot of the proposals, they can't hold a price for that long. So so if it goes over budget, just like if the playground were to go over budget, I have to go back to the village board. The issue we have with a lot of it now is the fact that the borrowing for this is going to happen this month. So they would have to do a general obligation note once again if we needed to borrow more money. Now, if there are other money in the fund balance or other places, it's too bad we didn't still have our playground funding that was in there. That's pull from that, but hopefully it all comes in, in the budget. It's the plan.
Mike, can you remind me again why we invested so much in pickleball? Did we have residents that asked for it, or just something that we thought was the right thing to do? It's been a while.
It's the fastest growing sport in America for the fifth straight year. We have had a lot of residents ask about these courts, ask about pickleball. Frank Durham used to be on the park board here, and he pushed for it for at least 3 years. There has been a number of people asking about it. The other thing is the area that we're talking about, which is in the picture there, is so underutilized because it's not safe. I mean, the courts themselves are, in really bad shape. So it was a good time to do the pickleball courts, reutilize that space, and also, add new basketball court for the side of town, as we don't really have a full court basketball court over here other than this one. So, and the one at Glacial Valley is the one I kind of mirrored that off of. The hoops will be the same, the Gorilla hoops that'll up lower and raise so that we can have, younger kids using them throughout the summer as well.
Sweet. I'll be able to dunk in a game.
Okay, so same thing. You need a motion to approve the RFP.
That'd be
Okay,
great.
I'll make a motion that we approve the RFP for the pickleball courts.
I'll second the motion.
Excellent. All in favor of approving the RFP, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Is
motion
there
carries.
one thing I don't have on the agenda here, but is there anything you guys want on the future agendas to talk about? It's one thing I should add.
I would always like to talk about a ultimate frisbee course across.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've had a lot of requests, not ultimate frisbee, for disc golf.
Oh, sorry, disc golf. My bad, my bad.
Really?
My brain was going sideways there. Sorry, yeah.
There has been a lot of
Yeah.
conversations on disc golf. We obviously have a lot of conservancy land around that people feel could be used. The issue we have with most of it is access. You know, getting to those sites. It's all through easements, through people's properties, and there's no parking or anything option. So, but yeah, I think there could be, I mean, that's the reason that we don't have access is because long range planning isn't there. So that's where we need to probably start in this. As developments happen or as things come forward, we either utilize parkland dedication a little bit differently, or, the village looks to purchase other land for such, right?
Even within Bear Park. Right.
Yeah.
And the expansion.
It's still good. Expansion. So, or, even, Glacier Ridge Conservancy abuts to like 800 acres. That's at some point going to be for sale. So,
Well, and it'd be a cool collaboration with Glacier Creek.
right. I agree.
Yeah.
All right. I'll put disc golf on the next
Do it.
agenda, at least for discussion.
So, being a future agenda, like, I'm curious what your priorities are.
Me too.
Maybe
No.
not having time out, or,
Yeah, for sure.
To look at, and I'm sure you have more than but I mean, what is Pension Rex roadmap?
Yeah. Our 5-year capital improvement plan has all of it pretty much in there, However, I do the best I can to stick to that, at least for future projects or things that we're looking for. Pickleball courts, actually, like that type of discussion is all in there. Dog park is one thing that's really important that we have to really come to some sort of an agreement on. I think we have, but whether or not some of these developments happen is really important. That relies on the development then. I think there's a better way that we should start mirroring our parks and open space plan with our comprehensive plan. So the whole village plan, I think those things need to start really talking to one another a little more. So that would be a good thing for us to maybe, or as a group, to kind of look at a little
Can
more.
we also include adding in doggy bags and other places?
Dispensaries.
Yeah.
Man, I was hoping you'd never ask that. You know how many bags we go through in a year? I mean, it's insane. And don't get me wrong.
Is it something that, I mean, I feel like because it's talked about so much, there might be people willing to
Donate.
we could fundraise, because I think about along Evergreen Parkway, it would be nice if there was this kind of stuff.
Sure.
And I mean, because everyone comes up on moms and dads all the time, and I'm like, okay, everyone can complain.
For dog
Complain
bags?
will change nothing about dog waste.
They're asking,
No,
for the
they
waste?
complain about dog waste all over, but I do think
mhm.
one proactive thing we can do is have dog waste.
Then you have dog that's just sitting on the street.
Wow.
Piles, you know what I mean?
I don't like that either, but at least.
I will definitely put it on the agenda.
Garbage by the bags.
I'll add it to the agenda. I'm not so sure I'll advocate with you. Is the only thing, right? Which is good to have that conversation. And I only say that because yes, the dog bags do get used because I ordered 4,000 of them back in, would have been back in October, and we were through them already by the end of last year. So we do go through a lot of them. However, I will also say that there is still a ton of dog waste. And most of the people that leave dog waste aren't because they don't have bags, it's because they won't use bags. So in my opinion, I think there are a few that.
Right, but then there's the bags. I remember I cleaned up around that retention pond and there were 20 to 30
Mhm.
dog waste bags, like full. And so,
Mhm. It's
but
another
there's
issue.
no garbage around there.
That's right. So
So
people
like-
think like, oh, I'm doing a good thing by putting it right, but I'm still gonna just leave it here.
Or like, even if there's like
Which is
a
worse.
program for neighborhoods to somehow fund, like, I don't know, the bags. Just something.
Yeah, I mean, maybe just looking into creative solutions to dog waste that are out there would be a decent conversation topic for us. Just to figure out like what communities are doing that are innovative around the subject.
I mean, ideally, you would flush it in your sewer system.
Public shaming, we need to put pictures of people, violators up on
Oh,
billboards.
yeah, right. Somebody got in trouble for that already.
I think
Oh,
the,
they published.
I think the,
Yeah, that's different.
I think the big thing, just talking to other communities is enforcing it. Like police, no matter what, whether, I get this all the time, but like dogs off leash, or dogs, cleaning up after your dogs, those two things are always the biggest topics, I think, in every community for the most part. And, we have a lot of signs up now, especially through Zander Park, and daily that there are, I've never seen a dog or seen a person not pick up after their dog. Obviously, if that happened, I would have. But I've talked to a lot of people about their dogs being off leash, and it doesn't faze them. So it's more, I think, if you don't get ticketed or don't have these things happen,
Yeah.
it just continues to snowball. But yeah, I think it's good to bring it up. Yeah, it's good to bring it up. I'll put it on my list.
I'm trying to remember where we left off with the village board on the dog park question.
So right now it's still slated for the new development on Sundance.
Okay.
However, like I said, we're still in negotiations or more or less on what that is.
That one part up on the hill would get it done. You know, the one
Dusky?
right when you come into town.
Yeah, we talked about that as a potential location, right up north of the Monona Bank, that back cul-de-sac.
Westview,
What's up, yeah.
that's our park. Or our conservancy.
Yeah.
Make that the dog park.
Just because I feel like it's underutilized. And it's fun being up there and getting the view.
I think we could talk about that further.
It's
I think the issue would be parking, but
Yeah.
I think we could talk about it further. Fencing might be a
I
little bit
wish
of an
that
issue,
there was
but
a better way to walk
I was gonna say, is there a sidewalk? Or
I
is that
tried to
like-
get access actually through your neighborhood up through Jamie's, but we weren't able to.
there. Really low.
But PI owns that property to the east of where Jamie is, so that could be a discussion if that ever comes forward.
Yeah, because I think, right, if you made a path that way, I think there would be, because I think even the people who are on the other side of Glacier Creek, they would enjoy being able to walk.
Yeah.
More.
I agree. Well, Jed, do you have anything? You like on the
Pool,
agenda?
the pool would be the only thing. Obviously, it's always the discussion of, do we keep fixing it or build a new one? And at what
Yeah.
point does that change? I know it's still paying for itself and profitable. So I don't know if that's a yearly discussion or when that needs to be had, or if we just talk about it when we need to, but that's the only thing else that I would think of.
Well, I do have that already on our list, not for next time, but that is on our list as a group to start on at some point here. I just kind of waiting for Brian to lead or to get here to lead a little bit. And then, because I already have money in the capital improvement plan for a new pool, so it's in the plan, but that doesn't mean much. There's a lot of other feasibility type discussions and those sorts of things. Yeah.
Well, and those would
I
be
have-
good things for me to be involved in, being on the finance committee, so I know when that comes up, because I'm sure that'll be something that comes up at some point in the near future.
Yeah, I think that's where it will go. It sounds like be more on finance committee to help us figure out the best possible options financially, but yeah, we'll decide on. I think we have to decide more as a group, which normally people pay for as well for these types of plans, but we can go through someone else's plan and see what different metrics they used to decide if the pool should continue to be where it is or should be moved to other place, whether it should just be revamped in its current location, or whether we need a completely new one. So yeah, that'll be fun. I think we'll bring it up probably after the pool season this year.
Okay.
Have a lot more understanding.
Absolutely.
So,
See if we make it.
exactly.
Cool. All right, if there's nothing else from anyone else, I'd take a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
I'll
What do you
make a
mean?
motion to
Oh,
adjourn.
right.
All right, there's a motion to adjourn. We got a second from Sarah. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Same opposed. Okay, we stand adjourned. Thanks. Good to see you, Jed.
Thank you.